Well, good day. If you're listening live, we've had a little bit of rain, but when we have rain, it gives us an opportunity to reach out to some people that, you know, would be good guests for our community. And we have one today. We were scheduled next week, and so we figured, hey, you're not out there in the rain, so you might as well put yourself in a situation to educate people. So our guest is a educator. So I'm going to let Keith introduce who he is, who he ser- who what he does, and who he serves, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Pete, I am very excited to be here today. And yes, today was a great day to connect with my neighbors. We all checked up on each other and checked up on family. So
Yes,
nice community behaviors.
yes,
And
totally.
I think that's part of the theme of my insurance agency that is handling Medicare for seniors. And the reason we've done so well is that we are a community-based organization, whereas we serve the community. We try to prevent Medicare scams. We educate the public, and we do community service on many levels. And I think that's the right way to be a good partner for the seniors who are very vulnerable.
Yes, totally. My good friend, I remembered it like it was yesterday. It was about 3 months ago. He called me, and he's my only golf coach that ever gave me a lesson. And I shot a 32 after his lesson. So I keep him in high regard as far as golf coach. But he called me, and his they did the fear base on his wife, and before you know it, a lot of money was taken out of their account, like their savings, and it happened like that. And so those are out there, they're preying on our seniors. So, yeah, thanks for being an educator in your profession because it makes such a difference when people can get that education. So, let's go back to your journey because I love always, I chatted with you, I think a month ago after you made a presentation at the ASCNN. And we talked, you had a cool analogy or a story about the mushroom. So tell our viewers what, that weren't there that day, what your story was that wrapped around a mushroom in the yard.
So what happens in my business is that there's a black eye on our business, and there's a bad reputation in some segments of our business. But the analogy that I use is you'll walk your dog one morning, beautiful day, and maybe it rained last night, and you look around your front yard, and all of a sudden there's a million mushrooms have popped up. You tell your kids it was the fairies had a dance last night, but it's they just pop up, and a week later they're gone. Well, that's what happened in Medicare. We're entering the October and November circus time of Medicare, and all of these magical mushroom agents just pop up and sell people stuff to make their quotas, to make their money for Christmas, and then they disappear. They're gone. They're not there for you after that point.
Yeah, that's it's so appropriate in a lot of professions is if you're not a long-term thinker and adding value to people and I believe in the education, it's critical to everything is educate your people, let them know their options, and then they decide. So tell us, share with our viewers your philosophy and your journey that you don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an educator. How did that come about?
Well, I could tell you, my high school counselor didn't think I would ever be doing this type of career. So, what happened was I did want to be in business for myself, and I did enjoy helping people with regular people with their health insurance needs. Is where I got started, helping out mom and pop small businesses, contractors, people that needed hand holding. That this is very Greek to them, this type of thing. Usually at your job, somebody in the HR picks your plans and tells you to check a box, but when you're on your own, you need some hand holding. So I started really helping out small business owners and independent businesses. And then that migrated. That was 30 years ago when I started, and that migrated in the year 2000. Really about 1998. But then in 2000 to 2003, we had the Medicare Modernization Act. It started really kicking in 2005. And I realized it was really changing Medicare from being something that was pretty plain and vanilla to being very, very complex. And Medicare didn't cover drugs, for example, until 2005, which is crazy. And all of a sudden people are like, explain this to me, because my mom didn't have any of these problems and I've got all these choices. What's going on, Keith? And I realized there was a huge vacuum. So I started teaching on Medicare, really from requests from, my own clients saying, come talk to my Bible group, come talk to my Red Hat Ladies Club, my Rotary group. And it just sort of, grew from that casual referrals to being a core part of our business.
Yeah, that's, we only hope that others adapt that philosophy, because the information that's coming at us is very complex for the average person. And our seniors are faced with making decisions. And you're right about that. I thought Medicare was just, you hit it and you started it. Then I was in a kind of a life transition, and I was in the middle of a lot of different situations, and I was shocked at the complexity of the decisions.
Yes, that's right.
I didn't think about anything ahead of time. I just went, hit 65, and I actually, just for our viewers, just to understand the coverage part, I had my stroke before 65. So I saw the bills before 65, and then I saw the bills after 65. Now I know why Medicare is going broke, because I had $30,000 in 1 month was billed, and I was going, $30,000 for twice a week physical therapy. And then when I turned 65, once I hit my deductible, it was like zero. I'm going, how do you go from 30,000 a month to zero? Well, you cross that 65 line. Yeah. So I think there's a balance of how we want to take care of our seniors. And I understand that, but it's anything with the government, it's complex.
Well, it's bizarre though, because these are both government agencies. Healthcare.gov and Medicare.gov are both down the hall from each other in the government, and yet one is so completely different than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And Medicare is by far better. My clients will be saying they're so excited to get off their Affordable Care Act Obamacare plan and get into Medicare. They postpone all their surgeries and their things until they hit Medicare. Medicare knows it's a problem because everybody's like, it's so much better under Medicare. I can't wait. And it's going to be less out of my pocket.
Yeah. What, when you made that transition, like, were you like into education early before your getting into the industry of Medicare?
Not insurance education. I had already been doing leadership education. I had been doing community service. I was part of the Gwinnett Neighborhood Leadership Institute. I was on the board and also the board chairperson for that. I was involved with that for 18 years. And then I ran the Council on Aging office in Gwinnett County. So all of those other sort of community service leadership roles where I was educating or leading meetings and leading efforts, fundraising efforts and other things, really built that format for me, really honed my professional skill there. Mm-hmm. And it was a natural transition to start to teach insurance education to consumers.
Yeah. Talk about community service. I like how you mentioned that. Like how important in your philosophy and your story is that part of it?
I think it's extremely important. It's a little distressing for me because my own children have watched me do a lot of community service, and I'm trying to impress upon them the importance. And my daughter, I was very proud of her the other night, was running a fundraiser for suicide prevention up at University of Georgia. And I was like, this to me is a big component, should be a component of all of our lives. And I love giving back to the community. Now I serve on the Art Commission Board for Swanee, helping to pick artwork. Over my last 30 years, I've been involved in something or multiple things all the time. And you know me from the ASCNN Senior Network. I'm on the board there, for example, for that's the largest senior industry group in Georgia.
Yes, that's, when people go through life transitions and what tragedies, different things in their life, I always share with them, serve. If you haven't, serve whatever you were affected with, because when you serve others, it fills your heart and helps others that may not have been through that situation for you to help them. And it's almost, well, it's a healing part of life, is when you pour yourself, and you hear people that they go through a tragedy, they forgive the person. Let's just say it's something on the criminal side, and they start healing, and then they pour themselves back into helping others in that particular industry, or that particular part, because they want to make sure that somebody has help out there. Because when you go through things, if you do it alone, that's a recipe for disaster. So talk to our seniors when it comes to, I lived in a senior facility, and I saw the ones that don't have that social interaction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk about that. As you are
Sure.
in this industry, you see the ones that socially connect, and you see people that choose not to, which is, everything is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But give our viewers an idea of the advantages.
I will address that real quick. I'll address that question real quick, but I want to go back to what you were talking about through service and leadership. Being a servant leader is important. You might say, I'm just serving, but no, you're actually setting an example. So a good leader doesn't create followers. A good leader creates other leaders. And if we don't have some examples to follow, we're not going to feel either comfortable. Nobody wants to take that first step, but they see somebody else already has sort of carved the path. It makes it easier for other people to say, yeah, I can help out there. I can help out here. And that's why it's so key to at least just go do. You don't have to be the president of something. Just go help out. And then somebody else might just go help out. And it's that cascading effect of just going to help out. And that's what then brings people awareness of vulnerabilities and horrible situations that are easily preventable, like senior isolation. If we just get out there and call your neighbor and find out. The most heartbreaking story I ever remember was a story of a lady who left a note in her neighbor's mailbox, and she said, I need a friend. I'm very lonely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It breaks your heart, because as you get older, you want that to be a joyful time of your life. And we know as we get older, a spouse passes away, different things happen. A loved one gets Alzheimer's, and it just takes your world upside down. And if you have to take that journey by yourself, it's not the journey you want to. And I would always encourage, when I was over at Overture and I'd have organizations in there, is to encourage our seniors to serve. Get out there. You have the time. The ones that were I guess called the pickiest, were the ones that had too much time on their hands. They would just be critical of things that didn't really matter in the big picture of things. Just serve, love, like we talked about before we get on. What building your agency? You've obviously used these principles. What was the biggest challenge in coming into this industry and building a team?
Well, it's always the most difficult part to me is finding good people and holding. Once you find good people and you train them up really well, you want them to be successful, but it's holding on to them and keeping them. We've been very, very blessed here that through both intention and blessings out of manna from heaven kind of stuff, that we've got a very solid core. Out of our 10 people, we've got a good solid core of about 5 or 6 that are our mainstays, that has really been the glue that keeps us going. And it's difficult to always keep people. You lose people because their spouse gets transferred or somebody gets a better offer. If somebody gets a better offer and you want them, I want you to be successful. Go take that. If you can increase your take home pay by 100%, go do it. And it's not because we were not paying right. It's just there was some wonderful opportunity that just came up for that person. Yeah. So I have to learn to expect that and not be disappointed about losing good people. But I would much rather have those people grow up. So a lot of times what happens in our agency, we hire somebody on an admin role, a customer service role, and then they move into the Medicare Educator role, or they move into management. And I like that. I'd rather not hire on the outside, I'd rather develop from the inside, because we have such an unusual format here. Mm-hmm. We're not a sales agency. We are a high-level customer service and Medicare education agency. We help people manage their Medicare, whereas everybody else, I'm talking 90% of people, are about Medicare sales. And we're about Medicare retention. We want to get our clients, retain them, and then by that behavior, they refer their friends and family, neighbors, and half of our business comes from professionals. So professionals know that we stay in our lane. So financial planners, lawyers, CPAs, nurses, social workers, they refer a lot of people to us because they know we're different. And I'll give you just a perfect example. The lady that ran the state agency for Georgia called Georgia Cares, when she left the agency, she came to work for me. Wow. And she had been around the entire state seeing problems with Medicare salespeople. She had taught her 70 volunteers at her state agency to tell people to stay away from Medicare agents.
Wow.
She said she did that for 10 years. And then she and I were friends through the Council for Seniors, the Council on Aging office. And she said, "Hey, Keith, I'm leaving there." And I said, "Well, you're coming to work for me." And she says, "Okay." And she said, "You're the only place I can go to work for." So.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. I have some friends that are in the industry. I won't mention their names, and I'll call them and just kid around like, "Hey, look, I got a ticket to this, or I got a lotto ticket. I need to split it with you. Call me back." And, because during that enrollment period, to get a call back from even a friend,
right,
like an act of Congress, they just don't do it. And I'm thinking, like, can you actually be busy that much that you can't a 2-minute phone call just acknowledging people?
This year is probably going to be like 2013 when Obamacare rolled out in 2013. I couldn't even get back to everybody, but we were much smaller then. That's 11 years ago.
Yeah.
The reason we have 10 employees is because of that issue and great systems. And I'm adding 2 more seasonal, so we'll have 12. Most Medicare people are a one-man band.
Yes.
They wear the hat of the admin. They wear the hat of the enroller. They wear the hat of the problem fixer, and they get really overwhelmed. And it's not because of the industry's fault. It's because they don't want to grow their agency. They don't want to spend money on customer service people. They don't want to do those things, and they end up hurting the relationship with the client, hurting the industry, and hurting their own business growth.
Yes. Yeah, I have a similar experience in a different industry, real estate. When we moved down to Atlanta, I only knew one person. So I called him, and he had lived in Richmond and came down here. So I said, "Hey, do you have a real estate person you recommend?" Well, he recommended his part-time niece, and building a house with a part-time young niece was a train wreck. I just called him back up and I told him his name. I said, "Listen to me carefully. You ruined a good relationship by recommending your part-time niece. It was a disaster."
Wow.
And it's so stressful when you're building anyway.
Yep.
Why would you put yourself out there? Your reputation's on the line when you recommend people.
Yep.
And you have to be cognizant of that because it comes back to you, not that person. I mean, she just, "Hey, look, I got a free referral. I got a check at the closing," and that's about all I saw of her. And I was going like, I told that story probably 100 times. And that's why you have to be careful when you're referring, because it's your reputation.
Well, we get half of our business from high-level professionals.
Yeah.
The financial planners that refer to us are not some junior financial planners. They're like top of their industry. UBS and Green Financial, all sorts of major number one style financial planners. They do not want to jeopardize a $5 million account relationship at all. That's the last thing they want to do is jeopardize losing a $5 million account.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I think it's like thinking long-term versus the transactional mindset is like, I just want that one transaction, not realizing, because we talked about the lifetime value of a client.
That's right.
And it's not a lot of people really embrace that. They looked at that short-term transaction and what's there, but that client could be there for 20 years. And
Well,
if you
this is the problem in our industry, is that people they think they're small business owners in the Medicare, and they say they're a Medicare agent, and I've got an agency, I'm a business owner. They're not. They're salespeople. They don't understand that the longer you keep the client, not only do you make more money, of course, but you also have many more opportunities to get referrals from that client.
Yes.
And I'll ask other agents, because I buy other Medicare agencies. Every year we buy one at least. And I say, what's your lifetime value? They have no idea. And they don't understand the implication of that. And it's just bizarro world that the insurance industry does not want to teach people to be good Medicare agents. What happens in our industry, if a Medicare agent quits or dies, all those policies roll up to become what are called house accounts to the carrier. It's very profitable for the carrier to have that situation happen.
Yeah.
They don't want to keep on paying out servicing fees to people like me. So they won't tell you that, but that's really the way it is.
Explain. I didn't understand that. So when you say the carrier, so are you talking about the Aetnas of the world and the people that are actually writing the insurance?
Yeah, right. So the industry is built upon these private corporations, all the ones the red company, the green one, the blue, I won't say names, but all the ones deal with both group health insurance, personal health insurance, and Medicare plans, and all the different types of Medicare plans. And those companies, pay us a servicing fee. Doesn't come out of the consumer's pocket, so all my services are free. But it's a black eye on the industry in that whether an agent provides service or not, they get exactly the same servicing fee. And there's really no way to police that. I wish there was, because I should be getting paid a lot more than I'm getting paid, while some other else should be getting paid a lot less. If all they do is a transaction sale, pay them one time. Why are you paying them year by year if they don't even have a staff?
Yeah, that makes sense. What, in your personal development, do you have some good books to share with our viewers that you personally like?
Yeah, well, from a business side, one of my most favorite ones that we use as a theme around here is from Bill Cates. The book is called "Don't Keep Me a Secret." Well, this is on our desk here at work, is telling everybody don't keep up a secret, because we've actually heard from clients say, "Man, I wish I had known about you 5 years ago. I didn't know there was a service like yours." And it's like we're this little best kept secret. So Bill Cates wrote that one, "Don't Keep Me a Secret." And then he also wrote a follow-up called "Beyond Referrals." And this is all about behaving and teaching people that it's okay to send you their friends. That here's the rule. I'll give you the rule. 20% always will send you their friends. 20% will never send you their friends. That leaves 60% in the middle that you need to psychologically condition to say, hey, it's normal. Send me your friends. I need it because I don't have the money for advertising. The way I build my business is through referral. And people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I can send you my friends. But you have to kind of like give them psychological permission and sort of embed that in them. And I love those books because it's so simple of a philosophy. There's a book called Start With Why from Simon Sinek that wrote, it's all about building a business with a purpose. And they use Southwest Airlines and some other corporations as good examples. Southwest has dramatically changed over the last 10 years. But when it started out, it had a much different flavor. But it was all about building your business with a purpose. And our purpose is to protect seniors and to help seniors' families. The time is the enemy of seniors. Their memories fade, their capabilities fade. They need more and more help. They become more and more vulnerable. We need to be there not when they're just 65. We need to be there when they're 95. And that means you've got to provide true compassionate service. Love to Start With Why. My favorite book of all time, though, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it's not about necessarily growing rich, even though it's in the title. It's really about personal growth, and that a lot of things don't really happen to you until you're after 40 years old. A lot of success happens in life at 40, and people get so disappointed in today's world because they see on social media and other places they should be so successful when they're 25 or 30 or 35. And really, in reality, most great things happen 40 years old and on. And you just got to keep plugging along, and you got to keep utilizing, developing your skills, and realize that failure is not your enemy, but it's part of the process.
Yeah, that's a timeless book. It just has such rich information and principles in it. And I think it does, if you look at the cover and you look at the title, you're thinking, well, get rich quick.
Yeah,
And
right.
there's nothing, but it does give off that vibe unless you talk to somebody like yourself and say, no, practice the principles that Napoleon Hill talked about, because he interviewed all these successful people.
Well, let me break that down. That he was hired. Napoleon Hill was hired. I'm trying to remember who hired him. It's a very famous.
Yeah, I think it's Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, it's Carnegie. It's Carnegie that built all the libraries. Yeah, Carnegie hired him to study other millionaires and interview other millionaires, and that was his calling card, his door opener. He would just call people and say, Andrew Carnegie asked me to come talk to you, and made it easy for him to go in and talk to these millionaires around the United States, which are now billionaires. Mm-hmm. When he wrote this book, a millionaire was a big deal. But I think if we would just teach kids today that principle, don't just wonder how things happen. Go ask successful people, how did things happen? And podcasts are a great example of that. But you can just go down the street, and if a guy's got a successful brake shop, buy him breakfast or dinner, take him out to dinner on Saturday night. Say, I just want to pick your brain. People are willing to help. Young people are like, there's some magic out there. No, you just need to go ask smart, successful people how they did it. And I will tell them my first business failed miserably when I was in college. I wasted a bunch of money, failed miserably because I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then when my second business started, I made sure it was successful. I did a much better job.
Yeah. No, it's similar, Pat. No, I agree with you 100%. And it is, ask, biblical, ask and you shall receive. But if you try to figure it all out yourself and not gleaming off of other people's wisdom, because I think the number is until you get to be 27, your brain's not fully developed. So I call it, I was in the stupid stage. You're just making mistakes like crazy because you don't know any better. So it takes that wisdom of just getting your hands dirty, figuring things out, talking to people. But yeah, now there's so much information on YouTube. There's so many podcasts. You can go out there, but yet, in the community, there's a successful business there. They would love to share it, but you got to ask. And
just go you're
interested in learning.
Go to your Rotary group, go to your Kiwanis group. They're always looking for new members. You can just go in there and just say, hey, I'm 28 years old and not sure what I'm going to do with my life. I'm looking for some mentors and people those are the kind of leaders you want to go talk to.
Yep. Totally agree. Now we're talking education. So I'm going to put your YouTube educational channel on there. And so tell our viewers that are listening to it through audio, how would they get more information from you, Keith?
Well, this YouTube channel was a blessing of COVID. I remember during 2022, I taught a class on the blessings of COVID, which was a great catchy title because everybody had a negative opinion of the COVID pandemic. Mm-hmm. And a blessing of COVID was seniors and other people started using technology to learn. Seniors were going to church by watching Zoom. My mom and dad did that, or visiting their grandchildren through Zoom. It really, really jump-started us into online virtual learning for older people. And it was a natural for us because we just started pushing record on the Zoom call. And then I eventually learned to edit things up. Originally, it was just really raw video, but it was at least up there. And it is something that you can have a 1-minute video, a 10-minute video, or a 50-minute video. People can find what they need. And we look at each subject matter individually. So if I could teach a class with 10 different chapters, but somebody just might want to learn, I just want to understand prescription drugs under Medicare, then they can watch a video just on that subject. And that's constantly updating. I think I posted 3 videos in the last 10 days because of the rapid changes that are happening under the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah. When I'm talking to some of my friends, I'm trying to help them with, the changes coming up with AI. And so there's many options as far as how you can educate and use it as a tool. But I'm constantly saying, if you don't have a digital footprint, because if I meet you, which I did, And of course, what do? I search you. I look your name up. If I don't see anything, I'm going like, well, he was pretty impressive, but must have been a flash in the pan. It was a good conversation because social proof is so easy to find in today's world. So if I mean, of course, I looked you up. I went, whoa, there's a lot of stuff out there, meaning you're creating value in the marketplace, and it's too easy for people to Google you. So you have to be aware of.
A little scary, isn't it? It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, no, I told my team, I said, I've had a YouTube channel for, I don't know, a lot of years, and it was a personal one at first, but it's under my name. So I said, make all my grandkids videos and all my junk that I wouldn't want to present, make it private.
I have to do that. I think there's still some videos of me from at a snow day event or something that I need to go out there and do that. You never know back then when you throw something up that it's going to be around in perpetuity, right?
No, I had.
Let me tell you a story though, real quick. You don't know this about me.
Please.
I had the first website in Georgia that quoted health insurance. That was in 1995. Wow. The insurance companies didn't have websites. My friends at Blue Cross and at Kaiser and all these different companies would call me and say, Keith, I saw your website. We're thinking about building one. Tell us what you've done. You come down and have a conversation with us. We'll buy you lunch. They didn't have them. The Atlanta Olympics was the first website for the Olympics ever. That was in 1995. They did their website for the 96 Olympics.
Yeah.
And so I was right at the very front of that and didn't know what I was doing. I went and hired some geek to do it for me. And I had my web address on the back of my car. In reflective letters, I would drive on purpose at night. People would go back and check out my website. I was a rolling billboard for a health insurance website.
No, I love it. I'm rolling out websites next month. I mean, not webinars. So I love your webinar 101. So when did you launch that? And tell our viewers what your intentions are to do with something like that.
So my original Medicare 101s were very boring and very dry back in 2007 or 8. I shudder to have memories of those because I did put people to sleep. I remember having people asleep in the classes. But I've gotten much better since then, taught around 1,400 classes. And we just converted what I was teaching in public. We converted it to a online format. But what it is, the format is the story of Medicare. Is where did it start, where it is now, why is it changing, and where is it going in the future? So we try to use the classic 1-hour TV show format. A 1-hour TV show is 40 minutes because they've got commercials. So really, in 40 minutes, you have to teach somebody, a start, ending, and a resolution. And people are just built that way because we've been watching TV since we were kids. Yes. And so I try to mirror that format.
Oh, I like that. I love that. So we're talking how technology, well, we mentioned a little bit changing a lot of how we do business. What do you see from your eyes? How is AI going to help you as a business owner?
Multiple ways. AI, already it's kind of comical. For our annual training, a lot of the insurance carriers are sending out these videos. It looks like a person is teaching us, and it's just an AI. Used to be one of their regional managers would teach us, and now it's just some sort of live avatar looking live. But I think in our business is going to be the customer service side. A little bit on the sales side is going to help people to understand how to utilize some tools. But really from the customer service side to getting people help, solving problems, I think the AI is first going to be introduced there mostly. I have friends that already have AI answering the phone and directing traffic. And also I have friends that use AI to, when people want to do business with them, when they're coming in, the AI then collects the information and schedules an appointment and says a live person is going to call you back. Sometimes they don't even say a live person. They act like the whole interaction is live. But even on a very, very basic level, we're seeing AI being implemented by mom and pop agencies.
Yeah. And it's such a valuable tool. I had a person who said, hey, it's going to take over the world. No, there will always be human intelligence. And, AI just goes backwards, and it's going to assist you in doing those mundane chores. But as more companies implement it, business is going to get more competitive. So you better be aware of how the business is changing and be able to use it to your advantage, because you're right. If you can get the team to do more value added services for your clients, that's a good thing, and do it in such a way that you're still making that value proposition.
Well, let's go back to your comment about your friend that didn't even return the phone call. The
Yeah.
AI could have returned the phone call. The AI could have said, "Hey, we're real busy." AI should have said, "I'm going to fix whatever I can for you." I want to. You have a whole other podcast here that you could do. I have two. I have two grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
One's 8 months old. One's 20 months old. I don't think either one of them are going to have driver's licenses.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So things are going to change. You're still going to need to get somewhere and go places, right? So it's not like we're going to stop needing to go places. Hopefully, we're not all going to be living in a pod permanently. Hopefully, we're all going to go places still when my grandkids are 20 years old. But I don't think they're going to have driver's licenses. They're going to have IDs, but it's going to be too expensive to insure a 16-year-old. People are just going to call up a car. It's going to take them. Well, what does that mean in my business? I think there's going to be all sorts of tremendous improvements. And just in my career, we used to do paper applications.
Mm-hmm.
Everything now is electronic. So, I appreciate the evolution. I want the evolution. I don't think I'm going to be replaced, but I can tell you right now, with my 10 people, I'm doing more with my 10 people than I used to do with 15 people.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not causing me to lose, jobs to be lost. They're just shuffling around. They're being shuffled around. So.
And people want to be a part of a growing company. So if you're growing, they want to be a part of that. I mean, so the more clients and more growth you have, you're going to attract people to say, "Hey, look, I can see where you're going versus the other company. I want to be on your team." And if you're doing that value proposition and you're understanding how you can leverage that technology.
Well, from a business side, it's a survival proposition, because we get paid about 50% less than we got paid about 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Yeah, it keeps going down. And our inflation for our rent and our electricity and our office fees and our salaries keep going up. Right. So it's a survival thing that you have to keep getting more and more and more efficient to outrun inflation and outrun declining compensation. For example, under prescription drugs this year, we're really teaching everybody that they need to go to the federal website to choose their standalone drug plan, not their Advantage, HMO, or PPO. Those are too difficult. You still need an agent for that. But the drug plans are really simple, and they're direct to consumer. Most of those plans don't pay us for helping you. Mm-hmm. And they're becoming, that whole side of Medicare, that little segment is becoming direct to consumer. So we teach people, go pick your drug plan. Don't camp out on a plan. Go to Medicare.gov. And so that's costing me about 8% of my revenue. That's it's a big gut punch for us. But it's also going to save us on some efficiency stuff. So it's not going to be a full 8% drop. Maybe I'll pick up some savings on some other stuff. But that's just part of the evolution. That's what's happening.
Awesome. I'm going to put your information up on the screen. So tell our audio listeners, how can they get a hold of you?
So the best way to get a hold of us is still by phone or by our website. Our phone is 770-945-5261. The web address is amsplans.com, or just write out our name, affordablemedicaresolutions.com. It's a lot longer, but those are all words. Mm-hmm. And we will do a discovery intake where you'll tell us some information about your drugs, doctors, pharmacy, preferences, and your situation. Are you still working? What's going on? Are you moving, etc. My staff will put all that in our system. We track that forever, not for a couple of years. It's permanent in our system. We record every interaction. We are required to, record every phone call, for example. But we keep very good notes, and we make sure that people are taken care of. I had a lady the other day that she says, "I'm kind of disappointed in you, Keith. You didn't call me this year." And I said, "Ma'am, we call people and everybody hangs up on us because they get so many calls. We've been sending you emails. oh, I guess I better check my email. I'm like, yeah, we keep in touch with you, but if we were trying phone calls, and it's just seniors will just hang up on us.
Yeah.
And so she understood that we're going to do our best to reach out to people through different formats, but really following us on social media, man, you're going to get a lot of information from us.
That's so good. Well, I want to thank you, Keith, for being our guest and coming on and educating our community on not only Medicare, but just principles of business success and helping people to grow. Everything's about the small business owner, because you can't be a big company until you go through the small company growth stages. So what would you, in our viewers, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our podcast today?
As far as Medicare goes, it is not set it and forget it. Medicare is something that you manage, and the best way to manage Medicare is to have a professional alongside with you that gives you unbiased advice, not a one-man band, a specialist that has a team of people that understand the topic. And that way you don't have to learn everything. Just let us be your Medicare nerds. That's what we are.
Hey, it's good to be an educational nerd. I love nerds. I have a little nerd personality, so it does get, sometimes people think nerds are boring, but hey, look, you're just committed to education. So I thank you.
Embrace the nerds. Embrace your tax nerd. Embrace your mechanic nerd. Your dental nerd. Exactly. All the nerds in your life, embrace them. Without the nerds, we would be in a bad spot.
Totally agree. Well, thank you, Keith, for being a guest. Stay dry until we get to the other side of sunshine, and then we'll at least get this place cleaned up as far as the amount of water that we're getting from.
We needed water, but boy, I wish we didn't get it all in one night.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. Well, thank you, Keith. Appreciate your time.
Pete, have a great day. Thank you.
You too.